Hello, hi. My name is Tariq Krim. First of all, I'd like to thank Arda to invite me. I'm very excited to be here. When I was doing NetVibe, I actually saw that Turkey was one of the, actually it was one of the first country we translated into, and there was a lot of traction. And I believe that what we're doing with Jolicloud will absolutely have an impact here. So, I don't know if this works. Let me see. Should it? Do you see anything changing? No. Technology. Maybe I'll try this one. Nope. Do you have? Okay. So I'd like to share with you three things. The first one is why the cloud is important. Actually, not important, crucial. The second thing is I'd like you guys to see beyond what I call the digital 1%. And the last thing is what it matters here in Europe to build alternative cloud platforms. I'd like to start with a simple story. I was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago in Japan, and I was in the subway. You know, Japan has 3G, 4G, well, 3G everywhere, and kids were using a small computer connected online. And it took me some time to understand that they were talking to each other using computers online. And I just figured out that, man, everything is going to be online. But that was not the reason why I started Jolicloud. The reason why I started Jolicloud was everything is going online, and there's no coming back. It means that we had a time, 1,000 years ago, when the printing press came, and one of the values of the printing press was the ability for anyone to access to knowledge, and also for a massive number of people to see the same thing, watch the same movie so we can have an opinion about the same movie, the same music, the same books. Now we're moving in a world where everything is going to be digital. And the post-PC, I usually don't talk about mobile. I rather talk about casual computing. That is the simple iPhone or iPad. You just switch on, press a button, and you're there. It's definitely one of the biggest transitions. But saying that, the transition is one thing, but I don't believe, like in the Microsoft world, that one or two companies should do everything. And when you think about our digital life, today we don't store our data in the same place. And one of the problems is not only we don't store it in the same place, but it's become increasingly complicated. I mean, I store some stuff on Dropbox, some others on Google Docs, Facebook for my photos, Twitter, Google+, well, sometime, Path, Gmail, Instagram. I mean, I'm sure each of you are using all of these services. And one of the problems we felt that is our digital life is just broken. Why should we put everything online? And how do we get back? What do I own? Where is my life? And that is the problem we felt was very important to tackle. So when you think about, we ask a user, what do you think about your digital life? And today they say it's fragmented. It's even worse now. Depending on what phone you buy, you will store your data either on Google or Apple or Amazon, and you have no idea if you can actually switch back from a platform to another. People feel, I lost my life. I mean, I can see a few things on Facebook, but what about this birthday 4 years ago? What about these photos? And also, the most important, what about preserving my life? I use Instagram quite a lot and Path, but I took photos of my niece's birthday. 10 years from now, where are these photos? Where is my life? So we felt that the life shouldn't be owned or managed by other platforms. You should be in control. So this is the reason why we created Jolicloud, a very simple way to take control of your digital life. So we came with a concept that is, in a way, an abstraction. It's the personal cloud. The personal cloud represents everything you own or you care about online. It can be wherever you want. We don't care. It's yours. And we believe you should be able to tap this content from any device. This is what the cloud is supposed to be. That is the promise of the cloud. That any device you have, it could be an iPhone or the new $50 smartphone that everybody's buying in China, you should be able to access your data. With Jolicloud, what we're trying to build ultimately is the library of yourself, indexing and organizing all the content you have. So this is how Jolicloud looks like. It's a desktop in the cloud. You can access all your apps. You can connect all the services you like and get photos, videos, music. We started with a few services, but ultimately, we'll open this API so any cloud service can provide this service, and you can connect to zillions of data. With this, every time there's a new app, I just switch instantly and I start producing content. I should be able to recover that content easily, to be able to organize things easily. This is what we're trying to do with Jolicloud. So if you want to play with the product, just go to beta.jolicloud.com. It's open, and you can have fun with it. But now, there's another reason why I started Jolicloud. It's not only to entertain the super cool, the super connected, the super intelligent people. When I was doing NetVibe, a lot of people said, it's amazing, it let me organize my life so much faster. And the digital 1% is something interesting. Think about a product like Uber. It's amazing now. You just go in San Francisco, you click, and there's a private car showing up to your room and in the next 5 minutes. But nobody is fixing the bus system. Nobody is trying to address the non-profitable, most people. And I think this is, when you go beyond the digital 1%, you actually start making a big difference. I want to show you two photos that kind of, you can see that was during the opening of the App Store in China. And this is in Ghana. Well, everybody wants to be and have an Apple. But I think this is very important when you think about a service to make sure that you can address the bigger picture. The cloud is the biggest opportunity. We're just at the beginning. We know we started 4 years ago. It was early. Of course, Google, Apple, everyone wants to be part of it. But I think the only way the cloud can succeed is it has become an open ecosystem of multiple partners. I love using my data, storing my data at Dropbox. They're doing a better service than Google. I don't believe I should put everything at Google or Apple or any of these. I think I should have choice. So one of the things we're trying to do is making sure that we have choice. The last thing is, especially in the case of Europe, I was having a conversation with Nelly Kroes, who is the European Commissioner, about cloud computing, and she said, so Tariq, we have 30 minutes. Can you explain to me the situation about cloud computing in Europe? And I said, that's very simple. We are 400 and something million users, and all our data are stored in US companies, making money out of it. If we want to have a cloud economy, we need to start beginning to innovate. I think it's important that you understand, in Turkey, the same in France, in the UK, we have a very, very monetizable audience. The cloud is going to be everywhere. So you need to start building these projects in Europe, making sure that Europeans can have access to a wider range of choice. In Turkey, I think you have some kind of outrageous online numbers. And I think this is one of the perfect places to actually start switching completely to cloud. I think other countries in Africa, it's a bit more difficult because you need to have 3G and 4G. But if you think about it, the new price of a computer is $35. $35. You just need to have a Raspberry Pi or a small chip that you buy in China, and $35, you got a computer. If you want to turn that computer into a tablet or a phone, you just have to add $15 more. $50 and you have an 7-inch tablet that is similar to what Amazon is doing. So there's a huge revolution out there. There's going to be very cheap device, and I believe we can build on top of this and create a European cloud ecosystem. Thank you very much.
All right, take a seat. So that was a great presentation. I am a fan of the cloud. But one thing I've noticed when it comes to the cloud is that most people I talk to don't really know it. Like, they've heard of the cloud, right? And even when people ask me to define what the cloud is, I go like, it's server stuff, right? It's like I save it and then it goes away. When it comes to as you were saying, this not so much the 1%ers, but everyone else and migrating to the cloud, is this something that when you're explaining this to people, that they just get like that, or like how do you best explain it to them, and how long does it really take for them to get what this is, why this is a good thing at all?
I think it's an excellent question, because most of the time, first thing is you have to define what cloud is. And I usually say it's just a fancy name to say your life online. Because at the end of the day, most people will say, do you use Facebook? Yes. Do you have Dropbox? Yes. Do you use Instapaper? Yes. Do you have Evernote? Yes. So you're in the cloud. I'm sorry to say you're in the cloud. And I think there's been with iCloud, and Apple was one of the companies that truly pushed the concept. But I don't think actually Apple is quite good at doing. I think iCloud is still a synchronization service 1.0.
And honestly, my experience with iCloud is that I find it kind of confusing. Like when I try to show it to my friends who have iCloud, they're like, why is it asking me to save to iCloud? I just want to save it, right? They don't really know why they're being told to save it to iCloud.
No, I think you're right. I think we need to start understanding that the cloud is this new platform on top of which we build services. It's an abstraction. Most people, cloud should be the new name for online. I think at some point, if you say my life is in the cloud, it just means your life is online and you have stuff there. And when we come to the second question is, now that your life is there, what do you want to do? Do you want to make sure to keep what matters? Do you want to make sure you can access whatever you want on any service? I think a lot of people came to me the last 2 years saying, I understand what you mean now because I switched from iPhone to Android. And I cannot access my iCloud photos. And they ask us, can you fix that? And I say, well, you know, iCloud is kind of a very closed file system. You can't really get to it. But at some point, there'll be a pressure to open it. And, but I think this is the key issue, because if you have an open cloud, then it means that a new range of hardware is going to come. And think about the Ouya, you know, the new video game running on Android. That kind of product was not even thinkable 4 years ago. And now we just say, well, it's super easy to build a device, and Android will connect it to the cloud. And we're just discussing with Ouya to figure out how we can put Jolicloud, and any other cloud services is going to do the same. And suddenly you have a new device connected to your digital life that sits next to your TV. So there's going to be tons of new options to do that.
And so my second question related to the cloud, and this kind of goes hand in hand with explaining what it is everyone says, well, it's my private stuff. I don't want like Google or Apple or whoever to look at it, right? And you can say, well, they don't really care about your photos. But even then, there's a concern about security. You keep seeing, you know, it seems every week this service or that service. Usually, it's not so much the cloud services yet, but it's like universities or Sony's PlayStation Network have their database hacked, that sort of thing. So is this something that when you're talking to people, when you're explaining the cloud, is this a concern, or is that something, is it overblown by the tech press that this is something we should be worried about, or?
Yeah, I think the questions is two questions. The first one is the question of private data, and the second one is security. Today we have a security problem. It's always been, I mean, since the early days of the internet, it's always been like whatever site being hacked. The question now is, this is why I believe a lot of people are moving to technologies like Amazon, because they provide the average level of security at least. But the first problem, and you're right, is when you think about social media, what is the true monetization strategy of social media? It's to monetize your intimacy. It means that you have private content, and that private content is going to go under scrutiny from Google or Facebook, and they're going to start watching what you do closely with your friends and monetize this. And I think the model of the cloud is the same as with Gmail and other services, is that at some point you should have choice. You should say, I'm paying and you leave me alone, subscription. I don't pay and I understand that you're doing this. One of the problems I have actually with Gmail is that I pay for Gmail. I'm sure you do too. And I still have this kind of advertising. I would love to have someone out there building a Gmail that is just, I pay for my email and it's the same quality of Gmail, but it's there.
Better quality. I could go for a Gmail that's faster and no
can like get your, one of the features of Jolicloud is we're going to connect your Gmail and turn your attachment into a file system, so you can access all the photos, everything you have on it. Because I think Gmail is actually the #1 cloud storage I'm sure you and I use, because every time we just send an attachment to someone and it's out there and then it's lost, buried. But I think it's very important. I believe that a small portion of the world will pay, and people like us, I mean, probably early adopters, companies, of course, say, leave me alone. I pay. And it's a good model because you actually pay to get your data stored. But leave me alone. I don't want my private data to be analyzed by a third party. And if you don't want to pay, then you play the Facebook game. You cannot really say anything because Facebook is free.
Right. All right. So I think we're out of time, but thank you, Tariq, for giving us this a walk through the cloud. That was so cheesy. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I wanna join you in the last part.
Oh yeah.
Like,
if you have any.
Actually, I wanna quickly ask one more question. Actually, because like this is important for us because like Tariq is from Paris, from France, and like your NetVibes was your first startup, and it's acquired, by the way, and you had great investors there. So, how did you make that happen? I mean, being in Europe and having investors from States and even selling it, actually, you sold it to, I think, a French company.
Yes, we sold.
Yeah, but at the end, I mean, you had great investors on there.
NetBuy was an accident, but actually, I just made it randomly. I was doing a blog company like Nick Denton at the time, focused on tech, and I needed a tool to manage all the blogs I was following. And we came up with NetVibe, and it became an instant success. Actually, I think at the peak, we were the third start page after Google and Yahoo with no marketing. And I think with a few people, Last.fm, we were the first generation of European companies, but actually came to the US, and people say, oh, this is great. Michael Arrington hosted us. He promoted us. It was quite amazing. We ended up having Excel and Index as investors. I think I was part of the first generation, and I was very glad to have the investors. But I think when I see the new entrepreneurs in Europe, and I also see the new generation of entrepreneurs, I think it's Ben Horowitz who said, the difference between us and other VCs is we take a founder and we turn him into a CEO rather than saying, you're going to do the company for 2 years, and then we'll replace you by an experienced guy, but actually doesn't have much experience. I end up maybe giving up too early because we were growing like crazy worldwide, and I felt maybe I need some more adult assistance. And in fact, I regret a bit not going way more crazy. So I think the only advice I have to anyone in Europe building a company, if you start to have traction globally, don't listen to anyone. Just go for it. I think whoever will crack, the European paradigm, that is, we usually either stall or get acquired. Right now, the only company I think in Europe that is probably going to crack this is Spotify, who is still based in Sweden and now killing it in the US. So I believe that the next 5 years, companies from the next big companies will be from Europe.
Actually, I just saw a friend there, Hassan, founder of Put.io. I think you should meet Tariq, by the way. Yeah, you should definitely meet each other.
I'd love to.
He does a cloud storage service, by the way. Buradan bile yardımcı oluyorum. Even if I'm on stage, I can help my friends. Thank you guys for coming here.
Thank you so much.
It's a great pleasure. Tariq, thank you so much. It was perfect.